Hi everyone, welcome to today's Tableau Geoanalytics workshop organized by DubsTech and Design Buddies. Today we'll be learning how to build a variety of different maps within Tableau. We'll be building choropleth maps as well as bubble maps, and we'll also be learning how to build other types of data visualizations including bar charts as well as tree maps. After which we'll be learning how to put all of these visualizations together into a dashboard that effectively communicates insights to a Medicare officer who works for the United States government. And in addition to that, we'll also be building a hospital finder dashboard, which can be used to look at all the hospitals that serve a specific diagnostic related group in the United States of America. So I'm super excited to go ahead and teach you all of this today. And I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Joshua. I've been teaching data visualization since the last 6 years per se, all the way since 2017. And I've been teaching for a variety of different organizations, including the University of Washington Information School, as well as DubsTech Seattle, and I also went and organized the first Seattle Data Hackathon. And most recently, I've been teaching over Zoom for a variety of different organizations, including Great Learning, UW, ISME, as well as CoLearn. And this autumn 2022, I organized a data visualization certification program in which more than 100 students learn how to use Tableau as well as Power BI. And their feedback was extremely overwhelmingly positive, and it's inspired me to organize even more workshops in which I can teach even other types of projects within Power BI and Tableau, and that's what brings all of us here today. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'd like to introduce you to Lily, who works for Medicare, a federal health insurance program for people who are 65 years or older, or certain younger people with disabilities, or people with end-stage renal disease. Now, specifically, Lily works in the Medicare Part A program. The Medicare Part A program covers inpatient hospital stays, care in a skilled nursing facility, hospice care, and some home health care as well. And as part of this program, Lily has been collecting data all the way from 2011 to 2015. And this is specifically data related to the inpatient discharges for every diagnostic related group in each hospital. So she's basically been collecting discharge data for each type of diagnosis. So all the way from lung transplants to joint replacements to heart disease to renal failure per se. She's collected data on each of these diagnostic related groups, and it's for each hospital for 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, and 2015. Now, what she wants to do is she wants to leverage this data to understand how they can better organize the Medicare program. And as part of that, she wants to build a business analytics report, and she has come to you to build the same for her. So you've gone ahead and basically told her, yes, I can build it for you. And she said, okay, what kind of software would you recommend we use to build this? And you tell her that Power BI and Tableau are both great for data visualization. They are market leaders, in fact, and you can see that in 2022 Gartner Magic Quadrant for Analytics and Business Intelligence Platforms report. And what you tell her is specifically, while both of them are leaders, you recommend that she use Tableau along with you instead of Power BI Pro for two key reasons. The first being that Tableau allows you to build rich geospatial maps, and it also allows you to build high fidelity complex visualizations that basically ties visualizations together. And more importantly, it also has an app for both Mac as well as Windows. If you use Power BI Pro online, it works on both of the platforms. But if you want to go ahead and use the entire Power BI suite, which is Power BI Desktop, it's only there for Windows. It's not there for both Mac and Windows. So basically, Tableau is a more appropriate option for what she wants to build, because there's a lot of hospital data and these hospitals are all over the United States. So you're going to be doing a lot of plotting, a lot of geospatial plotting. Tableau is going to be better in this case. Now note that this is my personal opinion, and people may disagree with me, so take it with a grain of salt. Now you may also tell me that, Josh, Power BI is free, Tableau is not. I'm going to disagree with you out here. That's because actually Tableau Public is free for anyone. They actually have a software that's dedicated free for all kinds of students as well as teachers like myself out here. And they have a paid software known as Tableau Desktop. So Tableau Desktop is a paid software, and the key difference between Tableau Desktop and Tableau Public is that whatever you do in Tableau Desktop gets saved to your computer locally, and Tableau Public work gets saved to the cloud. So it's public for everyone to basically see per se. So if you're working in Tableau Public, note that your data is going to go into the cloud. Everybody can see it, but it is for free. So you can definitely learn how to use Tableau using Tableau Public, and then as you start working for companies, you can switch to using Tableau Desktop so that the data is saved locally on your computer and it's not in their cloud. Now, you've gone ahead, you've convinced Lily that Tableau is a great software to use, and she asked you, what can you build with it? Do you have any examples of what people have used Tableau to build dashboards within the past? You're like, yeah. In fact, Tableau empowers many organizations that do analytics, you tell her. Nissan is using it on their factory floors. Honeywell Electronics is using it to go ahead and better do research on their different electronic items. Charles Schwab and JP Morgan Chase are using it to go ahead and evaluate portfolios in which companies they should invest into. Verizon is going ahead and using it to basically go ahead and see the uptime of all their telephone networks across the United States of America. Chipotle is using it for better supply chain management. And there are a variety of different other organizations that use it as well. And you also show a few examples of dashboards, such as the sales performance dashboard out here, which has a variety of different, visualizations, such as line charts, as well as bar charts, as well as these metric cards on top. You also go ahead and show another type of, dashboard that's been built for email performance overviews per se. And again, this one has a variety of different charts, right? You have pie charts, area graphs, as well as bar charts. In addition to that, you also show the global COVID-19 tracker that was built with Tableau. And you can show the maps that were built with it. So you have these bubble maps out here. And once you've done that, you can even tell them hey, people use Tableau to even analyze sports. So after you showed her all these different examples of dashboards people have built with Tableau, she's convinced and said, go build it. And here are the insights I want you to deliver for me. So what are the insights she wants to know? She wants to know what are the total discharges for each diagnostic related group. So those are basically the lung transplants, your heart transplants, your joint replacements, and so on. And she also wants to know what are the total discharges by body system impacted. And what are the total discharges by state, hospital, and time. And she also wants to know which hospitals have provided medical services for a selected DRG and what have been the average total payments. Now, we're going to be answering each of these questions for her by building a variety of different data visualizations and dashboards. So let's go ahead and get started, and let's take a look at what we'll be building before we dive right into Tableau Public. So I actually have this opened up in a new tab. So I actually built this already, so I should give you a demo. So here's the hospital finder dashboard, which answers question number 4, which is basically, let's take a look at it. Which hospitals have provided medical services for a selected DRG and what have been the average total payments? So if you take a look out here, we've selected a DRG, which is heart transplant. And then immediately we can see all the hospitals that have provided services for this specific DRG. And we can hover over this map as well and get to learn more. So maybe if I hover over this hospital right here, which is Providence Sacred Heart Medical Center, I can see that the average total payments is $285,000 and the covered charges is actually $1 million per se. Now I can also use this table right here to go ahead and learn more about any of these hospitals. And if I want to select one specific hospital on the map, I can just go ahead and click on that hospital on the table and immediately gets highlighted on the map as well, so I can see its exact location. So that's the first dashboard we'll be building. The second dashboard that we'll be building is a discharges dashboard that again allows us to select a specific DRG, and then we can immediately go ahead and see the total discharges for each DRG for each state. So we can see Texas, for example, has had 430 discharges for the heart transplant DRG. And if I select Texas specifically, I can see the discharges by hospital just for Texas. And you can even see a line chart that shows me how this has changed over time. That's exactly what we are seeking per se. Now, the next type of data visualization we're building is the discharges by body system. So now we can see the total discharges for each body system impacted. So the circulatory system out here has 9 million discharges. And then so does the musculoskeletal system have 4 million discharges and so on. And the last data visualization we'll be building is the discharges by DRG, which is basically a bar chart that shows us the total discharges for each DRG. So that's specifically what we'll be building today. And we're going to be taking approximately, I'd say, anywhere between an hour to an hour 30 minutes to build this. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing what you need to go ahead and do is you need to actually go ahead and download Tableau Public onto your computer and set it up basically. Now to go ahead and get the instructions for the same, I've put it together all in one document. You can access this by going to bit.ly dataviz class 23. It's basically going to open up this class website for you. And from here, you just need to go ahead and click on setup instructions and then select Tableau Public setup instructions. And from here, you learn how to install Tableau Public and also you learn how to create a Tableau Public account. Both of these are necessary to successfully complete today's project. So go ahead and do this if you haven't already. Once you've completed that, then go to workshop 2 in the workshops and recording section. Select workshop 2 Geoanalytics with Tableau and download the dataset if you haven't already. I'm going to download it today for you and show you how to do it. So I'm on the workshop 2 page. I'll click on this dataset which we need. And it's just going to open up in a new tab. And it's going to say US DRG analysis project base .twbx. What is a .twbx file? A .twbx file is basically a Tableau Public file. Okay. Now what I've gone ahead and done is I've put this data already in a Tableau Public file for you, because it's a large data set. So if I give it to you, it may take a lot of time to import into your computer if you have a very old computer, and it'll also may crash per se. So I've gone ahead and set up the file already perfectly for you, so you don't have any setup issues when you're going and importing the data set inside. But if you want the exact raw data set, I'm also happy to provide that to you if you reach out to me via LinkedIn. So let's go ahead and get started by downloading this, TWBX file, which we need for today. Come to the top right-hand corner. You'll see there's a download button. Just go ahead and click on it, and it's going to go ahead and create a pop-up window. It's going to ask you, where do you want to save this file on your computer? So I'm going to go ahead and decide to save this file on my desktop. I want to save this file specifically in a new folder on my desktop. So I'm going to go ahead and just call this Geospatial Tableau Workshop. And I'm then going to go ahead and save this file within it. Perfect. Now, I've gone ahead, I've installed Tableau Public already on my computer. I have a Tableau Public account created, and I've also downloaded the dataset for today. So the next step I want to take is I actually want to open up this file. To open this file, you can go ahead and just come to your desktop, open up the Geospatial Tableau Workshop folder if you've created one. If you saved it somewhere else, just go ahead and open up wherever you saved it. And then just double click on the US DRG Analytics Project base file. Just double click on it. And what's going to happen is it's basically going to go ahead and open up within Tableau Public. This is going to take anywhere between a minute to 2 minutes, especially if this is the first time you're opening up the file. So if you don't see Tableau Public initially opening up, don't panic. It's just taking a minute or two to open. Okay, so just be patient. Now the file's gone ahead and opened up on my computer. And what you should go ahead and see is a map that shows all the hospitals in the United States of America that go ahead and are part of the Medicare Part A program. Now, this is basically a base sheet. It's kind of useless. I've just gone ahead and put it together to show all the hospitals. We're not going to be using it at all. I just wanted it to be there just, so that you have a base page per se. Now, I'm going to give you an overview of the Tableau, public interface. If you're brand new to it, it's super important for you to understand it. So just pay close attention to what I'll be discussing next. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the bottom bar of Tableau, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new sheet. So you'll see there's a plus button. I'm going to go ahead and click on it. I'm going to create a new sheet. So in Tableau, the way it's set up is that for each data visualization you make, you need to make a new sheet. So if I want to make a bar chart, I need to make a new sheet. And if I want to make an additional data visualization, let's say I want to make another map, for example, I make that map on another sheet. You cannot make two data visualizations on the same sheet. So Tableau takes a very modular approach. We build each data visualization separately, and then you go ahead and put it together in the end on a dashboard. That's why you would have seen even at the start of today's workshop session, you'd have seen in my slide deck, I went ahead and first just showed a bar chart. I then showed a tree map. And then after that, I showed you a dashboard. So a dashboard can hold multiple data visualizations on it, but a sheet cannot. A sheet only holds one data visualization on it at a time. And you use a sheet to edit the way the data visualization looks. And you use the dashboard view to just go ahead and organize and lay out all your data visualizations together. So two different parts of Tableau, basically, when you're building your dashboards. The first is a sheet in which you make your data visualization. The dashboard is where you put all of them together. Now, that's basically what a sheet is in Tableau. The next thing I want you to understand is the data panel. So if you look at the left panel right here, you'll basically see that you have all the fields which are part of the data set. Now, these fields are basically columns. And what I wanted to pay close attention to is this dividing line between the blue fields and the green fields. So why are these fields color-coded in blue and green, and why are they divided? This is because a certain set of the fields are known as dimensions, and a certain set of those fields out there are known as measures. So what are dimensions and what are measures, and why have these why have these fields been classified as dimensions and measures? Dimensions are basically categories or names usually. For example, let's assume, you want to think of a hospital, right? A hospital has a name. A hospital name cannot be added with another hospital name, right? I cannot go ahead and add in UW Medical Center with Swedish Hospital Center. Those are not mathematically they can't be added up per se. So they're basically categories. So those are known as dimensions. So let's say even my name, another person's name, maybe Joshua plus Dhruv. That cannot be added up, right? So those are dimensions. Or maybe apples and oranges. Those are also dimensions because those are categories. So what we have out here is body system impacted. You cannot add circulatory system plus respiratory system, right? That's why it's a dimension. Or county name. You cannot add King County to Snohomish County. Why? They're just counties. They're not mathematically you can't add them up per se. That's why you also have your DRG with code, which is basically the agnostic related group, also as a dimension. So now I've gone and described what dimensions are to you. Now let's discuss what are measures. Measures are basically values that can be added up. For example, 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. And in this case, we have average covered charges, right? So if I have average covered charges of $100 plus $200, we can add that up. That's going to be $300. I can also do a subtraction action, right? I can do $300 minus $100. I'll get $200. I can multiply them. I can divide numbers. So any numeric value on which you can run mathematical operations is a measure. That's why we have total discharges, average total payments, average Medicare payments, and average covered charges, all green in color and set as measures. Now, if you ever want to go ahead and create new measures and new dimensions, you can do that as well inside of Tableau. I'll be discussing that in more detail as we progress through today's workshop. Now, we've gone and discussed the data panel. The next thing I want to go ahead and discuss with you is the central area which you see out here, the second panel known as pages, filters, and marks. This is basically the panel where we'll be going ahead and interacting when we want to start color coding our charts. We want to start playing with the sizing of our charts. We want to add in labels. We want to modify the tooltips. That's when we come to this marks card. And when we want to go ahead and filter the data, that means we want to decide what data is being shown on our data visualization. We'll be using the filters card. And last but not the least, we have the third section, which is the majority of my screen actually out here, which is your sheet view. What do you see in your sheet view? In your sheet view, you basically will be going and creating your data visualization. So your bar chart will basically be present out here, your map will be present out here, or your pie chart or your tree map, whatever you make will be present right here in the central white area. And if you want to go ahead and make another data visualization, as I mentioned earlier, you just come to the bottom bar and create a new worksheet. In addition to this, there are a few other additional features of Tableau. If you look at the top bar, which will be covering, such as the sorting in descending order and ascending order, as well as quickly adding in text labels if required. And there's also a presentation view which you can go to if you just want to see a data visualizations and none of the remaining part of the Tableau interface. With that being said, let's get started with question number 1 of Lily, which is, which DRG has the most discharges? So to get started with this, go ahead and come to the title bar which says Sheet 2, double click on it, and you're just going to type in Discharges by DRG. So double click on the title, type in Discharges by DRG, and then click on the OK button, and there you go, you've got a new title. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to see the total discharges for each DRG. So when we want to go ahead and basically see the discharges for each DRG, we're basically going to be comparing these values, right? So I'll have one DRG, then the total discharges for it. Another DRG, the total discharges for it. Another DRG, the total discharges for it. So I'm basically comparing these values. And when you want to compare these measures across one dimension, so one measure against one dimension, a bar chart is the most appropriate chart to make. So let's learn how to make a bar chart. Come to your left data panel, and what we're going to go ahead and do is in the search bar, I'm just going to search for DRG, and I'm going to drag the field called DRG with code into the rows section right here in the top area. So I'm going to drag DRG with code into rows. I'm going to drop it in. So why am I dragging it into rows? Because I'm going to have one row for each DRG. Now, the next thing I want to go ahead and do is I want to create my bars, which is going to come into my columns. So what are my bars representing? They represent the total discharges for each DRG. So now I'm going to come to the left panel. I'm going to search for discharges. I'm going to drag the total discharges field into columns. And once I've done that, I've got a bar chart in front of me. Now, you may tell me that Joshua, it doesn't look like a bar chart, but there's a lot of white space, like 90% of it is white, right? Why is that happening? This is because when we've got it made a bar chart initially, it's not sorted. So what we want to do is we want to sort our bar chart in descending order. Okay, that way we see the highest value first and the lowest value last. So it's from high to low. So when you sort, the bar chart will look a lot cleaner. Right now, you have these bars all mixed up, they're not sorted. So how do you sort your bar chart? There are two ways to go about it. The first way to go about it is you come to the top bar and you go ahead and you click on this sort in descending order button. So I'll click on the sort in descending order button, and now my bar chart is sorted in descending order. Perfect. The other way to do this is if you come to the total discharges x-axis, you'll see there's an option to go ahead and sort from here as well. If I click on the sort button out here, I can sort in descending order, ascending order as well, and also mixed order, which is what we don't want. So that's how I'll sort my data visualization. So this goes ahead and tells me specifically that my major joint replacement is the DRG that has had the most discharges. But what if I want to know what is the exact number of discharges for this specific DRG known as 470-major joint replacement per se? There are two ways I can get to know this. Actually, there's one way I can get to know this, which is I can hover over the bar and I immediately get this tooltip, the pop-up, that tells me that there have been more than 2 million discharges for this specific DRG. But what if you argue and tell me that, Joshua, I want to see the total discharges for DRG right on the bar itself. I don't want to go ahead and hover over it. How do you then go ahead and see that number per se? There are two ways to add this in. The first way is a quick hack, and it's actually a very useful feature of Tableau when you're making data visualizations super quickly, which is by coming to the top bar and clicking on this T icon out here. If I click on the T icon, you'll see I have a number now attached to each bar. So I can see that this specific DRG has had 2.5 million cases. This one has had 2.2 million discharges. This one has had 1.16, million discharges, and so on. Now, this hack is pretty effective, but what if you want to learn a different way to do this? So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do this in a different way per se. So I'm just going to undo what I did. So to undo, I'll just do Control-Z, Command-Z. If you're on Windows, you do Control-Z. If you're on Mac, you do Command-Z. And once you do that, let's say you want to go ahead and do it in a different way. So just come to the data panel and you can literally search for discharges and you can drag total discharges onto the text tile in the marks card. So I'll just drag total discharges and put it on top of the text tile in the marks card. There we go. So this is another way to do it. And I usually like to use this method because that way I can always decide what I want to show in my label. I may not necessarily always want to show exactly whatever value I'm showing on the x-axis in my label as well. This case I want to do it, but sometimes I may not want to do it. Okay. So I just want to give you an example of when you may not want to do it. It's not going to be something I'm going to do per se, so don't follow along. But I just want to explain what I mean by that. So if I remove, let's say, the total discharges from the label, and let's say instead I want to showcase the body system after each bar. It's a pretty bad design idea, but I just want to show you what I could do with it. I could drag body system impacted on top of label, and now you see how I see the body system impacted at the end of each bar. I would not be able to achieve that if I was clicking on the T icon. The T icon only shows a label that is basically showing your x-axis value. So it's not basically super valuable per se all the time. Now we've gone ahead and built our bar chart. The next thing you may want to go ahead and do is you may want to go ahead and make your bars from blue to orange in color. How would you do this? Pretty simple. Come to the marks card, click on the color tile and just change your color. Let's say you want to go ahead and make it orange. Done. There you go. Perfect. So we've now learned how to build a bar chart within Tableau. And I'm just going to come to the bottom bar and I'm going to rename my sheet to say Discharges by DRG. Now, once I've done that, I'm also going to go ahead and delete my base map. I don't need it anymore. So I'll just go ahead and right click on the base map in the bottom bar. Once I right click on it, I'll just say delete. There we go. Now, once you've completed this step, the next step you want to take is you want to create a new sheet because we want to answer the second question, which is what are the total discharges for each body system impacted? So come to the bottom bar, click on the new sheet button, and now we're going to type in our title. So click on the title bar which says sheet 2, type in discharges by body system impacted. Once you've done this, click on the OK button. And now we're going to learn how to build another data visualization known as a tree map. So what is a tree map? Let's take a look at it out here. A tree map is basically another type of data visualization which you can use when you want to compare values against each other. So let's say I have maybe 15 categories or 20 categories and I want to compare the values for each of these categories against each other. I could use a bar chart, but I could also use a tree map. So what happens in the tree map? We don't have bars, we instead have these square blocks or rectangular blocks. And the larger the rectangular block, basically the larger the share, the larger the value basically. So let's go ahead and learn how to build this data visualization. So step number 1 is to come to your left panel. And what I want you to do is I want you to hold down on the command key if you're on Mac and the control key if you're on Windows. I'm going to show you a quick hack inside of Tableau today. So I'm going to go ahead and hold on to the command key. And then I'm going to go ahead and select the body system impacted. That's step number 1. Then keep holding on command or control if you're on Windows. And then select total discharges. So I now have 2 fields selected, body system impacted and total discharges. So I have 1 dimension, 1 measure selected. Next, I'm going to come to my top right hand corner and you'll see there's a section known as show me. Tableau has this feature where if you select a certain number of fields, maybe 1 field, 2 fields, 3 fields, it will recommend to you a data visualization that you could use. So in this case, it's saying you could use a bar chart, you could also create a pie chart, you could also create a table, or you could create a tree map. So I'm going to go ahead and select tree map because that's the data visualization we want to create. And I'll select tree map. And now we've gone ahead and built our discharges by body system impact and dashboard. Perfect. Now there's one step I may want to take out here, which is I want to go ahead and change the color coding for this specific, data visualization in front of me. Right now we're using the blue color. I may want to use a reddish yellow color theme instead. So how would I go ahead and apply that? I would come to my marks card, which is in the second panel right here. And in the marks card, I'll click on the color tile. Once I click on the color tile, I'll select edit colors. Okay. And basically what does the color represent out here? It represents the total discharges. So what I'm going to say is I want my palette to change from automatic to red gold. So I'm using this red gold color palette. I'm just going to click on the apply button to get a preview of how it's going to look. So I've applied this, and what I'm noticing is that we have a lot of different shades of red, orange, and yellow. If I want to go ahead and say that there should be only 5 shades used out here, it may make it easier for me to classify these groups per se. So we can have like 5 groups, like, rank 1, rank 2, rank 3, rank 4, rank 5 groups per se. To do that, I'll just create this step color switch on, and I'll select apply. And now we only have 5 shades of orange. It becomes easier to classify and categorize these, body systems as compared to, having maybe 16 colors present in front of us. Once I've gone ahead and done this, I'll just go ahead and click on the OK button. Perfect. Now this tree map immediately shows me that the circulatory system has had the most discharges. However, like the same problem I'm having in the bar chart, which is that I don't know what were the total discharges for the circulatory system. There's no label telling me that. So let's go ahead and add a label for the same. I'm going to come to my data panel and I'm going to drag my total discharges measure field on top of label and I'll just drop it in. So now I can see that circulatory system had 9.5 million discharges. After that, we have the respiratory system, which had 6.5 million, discharges, and then the musculoskeletal system and so on. Now, one extra thing which I may want to go ahead and do is I may want my tree map to occupy all of the available white space in this sheet. Right now, you'll see we have this entire giant white bar available down below. You may want to make the tree map occupy all of the space available. How would you do that? Very simple. Come to the top bar, click on the drop down which says standard. This is basically going to go ahead and allow us to change the fit. I'm going to change from a standard fit to an entire view fit. So now it occupies all of the space available inside of my sheet. Now the last tweak I want to make is I want to come to my right panel where I have this color legend out here. In my color legend, it says sum into brackets total discharges. I don't want my user to read sum of total discharges. Lily is going to be a little bit confused by that. I just wanted to say total discharges, no sum in it. So to make that change, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to this sum of total discharges like card. I'm going to click on the arrow in the top right hand corner of it. And after that, I'll select edit title. And I'm just going to make the title say total discharges instead of sum total discharges per se. Perfect. So we've now learned how to build bar charts as well as tree maps within Tableau. The next thing we want to go ahead and do is we want to build a dashboard that answers a very detailed question of Lily's. What's her question? Let's take a look at it. Her question is basically, what are the total discharges by state, hospital, and time? So let's get started by answering the first question, which is, what are the total discharges by state? To do this, I'm going to come to the bottom bar. I'm just going to first rename my sheet to discharges by body system impacted. And then I'm going to click on the plus button in the bottom bar. I'm going to create a new sheet. Now, specifically, I'm going to rename my title from sheet 3. I'm going to call it discharges by state. Now, your initial reaction to answering this question may be, oh, Joshua, we need to compare the discharges for its states. A bar chart or a tree map is appropriate, right? You're not wrong out here. Okay, don't follow along with what I'm going to do next for a minute. Just see what I'll show you. Let's say I make a bar chart. Okay, maybe I go ahead and I drag state, I place it into my rows, and I drag discharges, and I place it into my columns. I get this bar chart out here, and I can see that Florida has had the most discharges, and then California, then Texas, then New York, then Illinois, then Ohio, and then I think this is Pennsylvania, and Michigan, and North Carolina, and so on. But there's one problem with this bar chart. it's that I don't any geographic context. So I cannot see the geographic patterns out here, right? Florida is far away from California. Florida is in the southeast of USA. California is on the west coast of USA, right? They're far away from each other. So I don't get to see any of those geographic patterns in a bar chart. And even with a tree map, I won't be able to see those geographic patterns. So I'm just going to go ahead and undo these two steps. And because this specific chart is not going to be appropriate. Instead, what I'm going to build is a map. And specifically, I'll be building a choropleth map. What's a choropleth map? It's specifically a map that goes ahead and uses the entire region to communicate a story about a specific region to me per se. So what I mean by that is, let's say if I look at the map out here, it tells me, right, Texas has the most discharges, in California, then Florida, then the states in the Northeast. And then we can see a majority of USA out here has lesser cases per se, right? So this is known as a choropleth map. We're using color and the entire area of each region to tell us a story, okay? These are not bubbles. These are regions and colors per se. So we're going to go ahead and now learn how to build this specific map that's in front of us. Let's go ahead and get started. Now, first, come to your data panel. What we need to do is we need to identify what will represent each state's location. So what's going to represent each state's location? It's going to be the hospital state dimension. So I'm just going to go ahead and come to my data panel, and I'm just going to double click on the hospital state field. So I'll just double click on it. I'll repeat myself. I'll double click on the hospital state field. Once I've done that, you will see I have a bubble for each of my states. Perfect. Now what I want to go ahead and do is I want to go ahead and make sure that each state, the state is represented like in color. So the total discharges for each state is represented by a color per se. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to my data panel. I'm going to search for total discharges and I'll drag and drop it on top of color. So once I do that, I can now see the darker the color, the more the discharges, right? So I can now see that Florida, Texas, California had the most discharges. And I can also start to see some other geographic patterns. Like for example, this entire region out here in the United States has not had as many cases as compared to, let's say, California or Texas or let's say Florida. And what we notice is the northeast of the United States has had, let's say, is in the middle ground, right? In terms of total discharges in the range, it's in the middle of the range of total discharges per state. So we can notice that trend out here. We would not be able to see that with the bar chart, but we now start to see these geographic patterns with this map. And we can also see that Alaska has had lesser cases as compared to a majority of the United States of America. This is most likely because their population is super low. And we can see the same thing for Hawaii as well. Now, first step which I want to take is I want to change my color system from this light blue to dark blue to a red gold scheme as what we did earlier. So to do this, I'll come to my marks card. I'll click on the color type. I'll select edit colors and I'll change my palette to red gold. Once I've done that, I'll also add steps to my colors so that, we don't have too many colors in front of us. And I'll select OK. Perfect. Now, this is going ahead and communicating a really nice story to me. I can immediately identify the states that have had the most cases. The next thing I want to go ahead and do is I want to change my map theme from a light theme to a dark theme, okay? I want to go ahead and show you how to use this feature of Tableau. It's a super powerful feature, and therefore I'm actually going ahead and changing the theme, just so it's also, a great way for you to learn Tableau per se. So right-click on the map and select your background layers option. Once you select your background layers option, you will see your left panel gets updated. What do we see in the left panel? There's a drop-down that says there's a style option, right? So we're going to change our style from light to dark. Notice that extra contrast that we now get. This allows us to see the states a lot more easily as compared to the light version where everything was super bright. And now you've also learned how to go ahead and change the theme for a map in Tableau, which was super important for me to teach to you. Now, what you also may want to go ahead and do is you may want to go ahead and show the total discharges for each state as a label inside of the state, region per se, right? So right now I only see a color. I may want to see the exact number of discharges for each state as a label inside of it. So what I'll do is I'll come to my data panel and I already have search for total. So total discharges already appears. So I'm just going to drag the total discharges field and I'll drop it on top of my label. As soon as I do that, there we go. I can see the total discharges for each state. That's exactly what I wanted. But now you may go ahead and make an argument and tell me that, Joshua, on this map, majority of the space is occupied by this black, space per se, right? We don't get to actually appreciate the United States of America map super easily. And that's primarily due to two reasons. The first being that Canada occupies a lot of space, right? But more importantly, it's because we are showing Alaska and Hawaii on this map as well. So because we are showing Alaska and Hawaii on this map, majority of the map has to zoom out, and therefore you have all of this black space. If we were not showing Hawaii and Alaska, don't do this with me. I'm just doing this to communicate a story to you. If we were not showing Hawaii and Alaska, the map would be a lot more easy to see. Correct? You can see a lot more United States as compared to earlier. Now, you may argue and tell me, Alaska and Hawaii are part of USA. How can you say, they're not part of USA? Of course they are. But if you want to get a specific view which is just showing USA, I'm going to teach you how to do that. And the reason actually I'm teaching you why I'm teaching you this is because I want to teach you how to create calculated fields. So stick along with me, okay? So now you can do this with me. So I hope you loved the previous episode where I just got rid of Hawaii and Alaska for a second. So what I want to go ahead and do is I want to add an option for a user to say that they want to see Hawaii and Alaska versus always having to see Hawaii and Alaska in this map. So basically the option is going to say, see Hawaii and Alaska or don't see Hawaii and Alaska. So it's going to look something like this. So let me just show it to you out here. In the example, you're going to have this option that says show Alaska, Hawaii. So to get started, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to create a calculated field. Calculated fields are basically ways for us to create new columns in Tableau so that we can go ahead and add in additional information to our data set that allows us to make richer data visualizations. In this case, I want to create a new column called is Alaska or Hawaii that basically tells me whether the state is Alaska or Hawaii or not. So I'm going to click on this arrow next to the search bar in the data panel. I'm going to select create calculated field. Once I do that, I get a pop-up, and in my pop-up, it's going to basically say calculation 1. That's the name of my new column or my new field. I'm going to go ahead and type it is Alaska or Hawaii. Okay, perfect. The next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and write down some conditions. I'm going to say if hospital state is equal to AK, then yes. Why? Because if your hospital state value in that row is AK, then it is Alaska. Else, if hospital states is equal to HI, that's Hawaii, then yes. Why? Because it is Hawaii, right? Is it Alaska, Hawaii? It is Hawaii. So it satisfies the condition of yes. And now my last condition is if it is neither of these two states, else no. So if it is neither of the above two states, then no. And I'll then go ahead and end this formula by typing in the word end. Okay, so it's very important to have the word end written. So what is this formula basically saying? It's basically saying if inside of the row, this state value is AK, then yes, it is Alaska. Or if the state value is HI, then yes, it is Hawaii. And if it is neither of the two, it's no, it's not either of those two, right? That's basically what this formula is telling us. A few key things to note. Hospital state, the reason it's in brackets is because it's a column, right? It's a field. So whenever you're writing fields in a formula, it gets these brackets around. And whenever you're going ahead and referring to a string value, basically an alphanumeric value, you have to put it in quotation marks. If I do not put quotation marks around it, like these inverted commas, it's going to say the calculation contains errors. So you always have to have those if you're referring to alphanumeric values. If you're referring only to a numeric value, like let's say number 4, number 5, then you don't need to put in open inverted commas. Okay, perfect. Now, once I've gone ahead and done this, I'm going to go ahead and click on the OK button. And now I've gone ahead and created my new calculated field. Notice how Tableau is added as a dimension because it's yes or no. I can add yes plus no, right? It's not mathematically possible to add them up. Now, I want to go ahead and show this as a filter to the user so they can decide if they want to see Alaska or Hawaii or not. So, come to your data panel, click on the arrow for is Alaska or Hawaii, and I'm going to say show filter. What it's going to do, it's going to show this as a filter to the user. The next step I want to take is I want to go ahead and change this from a list to a drop-down menu where the user basically selects one of these options. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the arrow for is Alaska or Hawaii. I'm going to change it from multiple values list to single value drop-down. So if I go ahead and say is Alaska, Hawaii, no, now I can only see the states up within the main part of USA. I don't see Alaska, I don't see Hawaii. Okay, if I go ahead and change it to just say yes, it's only going to show me Alaska and Hawaii. And if I change it to all, it'll show me the entire map. Now, you may go ahead and argue that Zoth, going ahead and saying like, is Alaska Hawaii maybe confusing to the user? Can we change that to say show Alaska Hawaii? Of course we can do that. Let's say show Alaska and Hawaii actually, not or Hawaii. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to click on the arrow again for this drop down. So come to the right panel, click on that click on the arrow for is Alaska Hawaii card, and then go ahead and just select edit title. Once you do that, I'm just basically going to say show Alaska and Hawaii. And you can even use the ampersand out here to make it slightly shorter. Perfect. Now we've gone ahead and now made this map that allows us to basically select, let's say, Alaska, Hawaii, we can select, no, or we can select all. So see how the map immediately updates. This is what we call as a filter. It's a user filter because the user can interact with it. Now I'm going to change this to say no for the time being. The next thing I want to go ahead and do is I want to basically allow a user to select a specific DRG. Why do I want to do that? Because part of Lily's questions was that she wants to allow the user to select a specific DRG and then see the total discharges, right? So she wants to see the total discharge by state. She doesn't say DRG out here, but I want to give her that option to basically select a specific DRG or specific body system and then see the total discharges by state. So how I go ahead and allow her to do that? Two very simple ways to do this, okay? Two simple steps. Not ways, two simple steps. Come to the left panel. And what I want you to do is I immediately want you to go ahead and come and search for the word body system. Once you've done that, go ahead and click on the arrow for body system impacted and select show filter. Now you'll see how the body system impacted filter list on the right hand side. Simply go ahead and click on the arrow for body system impacted. Click on the arrow for that card and just change it to be a single value drop down. See how much cleaner it looks, and change it to say all. Perfect. Now we also want to create a DRG dropdown so she can select a specific DRG instead. So I'm just going to go ahead and come back to my data panel. And I'll search for DRG with code. And once I complete this step, I'm going to click on the arrow for DRG with code. And I'm going to go ahead and say show filter. Once I select show filter, again we have a list. I'm going to take a similar step. I'm going to go ahead and click on the arrow for the DRG with code card. I'm going to change this from multiple values list to single value dropdown. Perfect. Now here's one interesting problem. As my body system impacted is all, and I have all these DRGs available to me. So I'm going to just say this changes to all. But let's say I want to put body system impacted above it. And let's say I only select maybe circulatory system. Okay, I've selected circulatory system out here. But when I click on my DRG with code, you see how I get to see all DRGs which are not even related to it. Like circulatory system is related to blood, right? But we have minor skin disorders out here. We have trauma. We have like, HIV. This is not related to the circulatory system. So what we want to go ahead and do is we only want to show relevant values in this drop down, right? We only want to show like DRGs related to the circulatory system. So what I need to do is I need to take two special steps. I need to basically go ahead and select this option known as only show relevant values. Okay. So to do this, I'm going to come to my body system impacted card. I'm going to click on the drop down arrow out here. And I want to say only show relevant values. So show values that are only possible, right? Don't show like values that are not possible. For example, like if we've selected circulatory system, I shouldn't see skin disorders, etc. And if I've selected the skin disorders already, I shouldn't see circulatory system above. So I want these filters to be interlinked. So I'm going to go ahead and say select only relevant values. And I'm going to do the same for my DRG with code. I'm going to click on the arrow and I'm going to say show only relevant values. Now what happens if I select the circulatory system as my body system impacted? I only see circulatory system DRG codes. No more skin disorders, etc. showing up out here. So now if I select ECMO, I see the discharges for ECMO. But what if tomorrow I decide to go ahead and change from this to all? So I change my DRG with code to all. I change my body system impacted to maybe say HIV. Then I see only the DRGs for HIV. So that's the advantage of going ahead and building these filters and also applying the only relevant values in database, option. So now we've gone ahead and built this discharges by DRG dashboard. And what we want to map. And now what we want to go ahead and do is we want to build two additional data visualizations to show the total discharges by hospital as well as by time. So let's learn how we'll do that. Pretty simple. First step is I'm going to go ahead and come and rename my sheet 3 to say discharges by state. Perfect. The next thing I want to do is I want to create a new sheet and I'm going to go ahead and call this sheet discharges by time. So I'll rename my sheet 4 to say discharges by time. Perfect. You can come to the bottom bar and rename sheet 4 to say discharges by time as well. Now, inside of my data set which I've got here today, I have a field known as a year field, right? And when you see the year field is that it can be used to showcase the discharges by time. So maybe I want to see the total discharges for each specific year, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015. And what you'll realize is when you want to compare values over time, a line chart is super appropriate, right? Where do we see line charts? Usually we see them in the stock market as well. Like if I search for, let's say, the Shopify stock, you see how Google gives me a line chart to show me how something has changed over time, like over 5 years, for example, which is exactly what we're doing. We use line charts for that. So let's go ahead and learn how to build that. Come to your data panel. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to search for the year column or the year field. Now, once you search for the year field, you'll see that it has this green hashtag attached to it. What Tableau has done is has gone ahead and identified it as a numeric field. We want to change this to a date field, and it's going to be super simple and it's going to be super useful to us in the future as well. So go ahead and click on this hashtag, change it from a numbered fold data type to a date type. Done. Once you've done that, drag year and place it into your columns. So whenever you're building a line chart, your time related field always goes into columns. So drag here and place it into columns. That's step number 1. The next thing I want to see is my discharges by year, right? So what I need to do is I need to come to my data panel and I need to search for discharges, and then I need to drag total discharges and place it into my rows. And there we go. I've got a line chart that shows me how my discharges have changed over time. The next step I may want to go ahead and take is I may want to rename my x-axis, which says year of year. That's not exactly a super useful x-axis, right? Just say year maybe. So go ahead and right click on your x-axis title and select edit x-axis. Once you select edit x-axis, just go ahead and change it from year of year to year in the title section in the bottom area of this pop-up. Perfect. And click on the X button, exit out of the pop-up. Now we've gone ahead and built a chart that tells us how the discharges have changed over time. The next step you may want to go ahead and take is you may want to add labels so that you know what are the total discharges for 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015. To do this, I will simply drag my total discharges and I'll drop it on top of label. Perfect. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we've built so far with respect to our dashboard. We've gone ahead and we've built out a map. Let me just click on this for a second. So we've gone and built out a map. We've also built out a line chart. Now, what we want to do to our line chart is we also want to give it an orange color. So click on the color tile and just make it orange. Perfect. Now, the next step I want to go ahead and take is I want to see my discharges by hospital. So I'm going to create a new sheet to do this. Go ahead and come to the bottom bar and create a new sheet. So let me click on new sheet option. And I'm going to type this in as discharges by hospital. Now, don't do the next step with me, just watch. Now, you'd be like, okay, Joshua, I need to see discharge by hospital. We basically need to compare the total discharges for each hospital. Bar chart, super appropriate. I'll agree with you as well. But there's a small problem that will come in, which you may not realize. Let's say I go ahead and make a bar chart, and I'm basically putting hospital name into my rows. And I'm going to go ahead and take my total discharges, and I'll put it into my columns. Don't do this, just watch. What you'll immediately notice is that Good Samaritan Hospital has had over 950,000 discharges as compared to the other hospitals. You're going to be like, oh my God, Good Samaritan Hospital, good on you. You've been super helpful to the community. You've been saving so many lives and making lives better, etc. And, they are a good hospital. They are definitely saving lives, etc. But this data is actually not accurate. That's because there are multiple hospitals around the United States of America that use the name Good Samaritan Hospital. And they've all got the same hospital name. And what happens is they then get, all grouped up. So when you see 950,000 discharges, that's from maybe 3 or 4 Good Samaritan hospitals around the United States of America. Now that's a problem, right? It's a data integrity issue. So we want to see each Good Samaritan hospital's data individually as a bar versus all of them combined into one bar. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I know that there can only be one Good Samaritan hospital in each postal code in which they exist in. So maybe there are 4 Good Samaritan hospitals, but they all will have unique zip codes. So I'm going to create a new calculate field that basically adds the hospital name and the zip code to each other or the postal code per se to each other so that we get a unique hospital name, and that way we'll have individual bars for each hospital. I'm going to now teach you how to do that, and you can follow along with me now. So to get started with doing this, come to your data panel, click on the arrow next to the search bar, select create calculated field, and type in hospital name with zip code. Now, the next step I need to take is I need to go ahead and write in a formula. I'm going to say that the hospital name with zip code basically needs to be equal to the hospital name field. See how it comes into brackets? Plus the hospital zip code. Now see what happens when I do this. It says the calculation contains errors. You'll tell me, Joshua, why does it have errors? You want to add a hospital name plus zip code. What's the big deal? Now, the big deal is that hospital name is a string value, basically an alphanumeric value, right? It has alphabets in it. Now, hospital zip code does not have any alphabets in it, right? It just has numbers in it. So it's a different type of data, right? So hospital name is a string, hospital zip code is numeric. So what we need to do is we need to convert hospital zip code to a string value. So what I'll do is I'll type in plus STR, and I'll then just go ahead and put hospital zip code into brackets of it. So now we have hospital name plus STR when you get this hospital zip code. Now what's going to happen is Good Samaritan Hospital, we'll have a code attached to it at the end. You may want to add a space between them. So to add a space between them, you can just go ahead and simply, put a open inverted commas with an additional space between it. So now we have hospital name, space, then the hospital zip code. Once you've done that, click on OK. And now you have hospital name with zip code as a separate individual dimension or field per se. Drag that into your rows. After you do that, drag discharges into columns. And now what you're going to go ahead and discover is that Good Samaritan Hospital has saved a lot of lives. It's had a lot of discharges. But it's not as many as what you were seeing earlier. You see now how you have 1, 2, 3, 4 Good Samaritan hospitals and 5 actually. So there were 5 hospitals initially which are grouped all together. Now they've all been, separated. And same goes for other hospitals which have same names across the USA. So we've gone ahead, we've built our discharges by state, discharges by time, and discharges by hospital data visualizations. Now what you may want to go ahead and do is you want to put all of it together onto one dashboard for Lily. We're going to spend the next 8 minutes building this dashboard for her. It's going to be super useful for you to learn how to build visualizations to communicate with each other. So do pay a lot of attention. It's something which a lot of people don't cover usually in tutorials. I'm super excited therefore to show it to you. So to get started with building our dashboard, what we need to do is we need to come to our bottom bar. And I'm going to go ahead and click on the second plus button to create a dashboard. Not the first plus button, the second one. What's the difference? The creating a new sheet allows you to create a new data visualization. Creating a dashboard allows you to put multiple data visualizations onto one view and you decide the layout of it. So go ahead and click on the second plus button. And we're just going to rename our dashboard 1 to Discharges Dashboard. Perfect. Now the next thing I want to go ahead and do is I want my discharges dashboard to occupy all of the available space. Right now its size is set to 420 by 560, which is not what we want. So come to the left panel, click on the size drop down, change it from range to automatic. So it occupies all of the space available. The next step you want to take is drag your discharges by state sheet, your data visualization, onto this empty canvas. That's step number 1. We got a map out here. The next thing I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and drag your discharges by time data visualization. And I want you to basically place it on the right-hand side of your map. Perfect. And next, drag your discharges by hospital and drop that below your line chart. Okay? Or you could actually push your bar chart above the line chart as well. See how I easily dragged and dropped it in? So you've got a basic layout set up. And the second next change I want to make is I want to drag my filters and I'll place them onto my left-hand side. So I'll just go ahead and select it. And I'm going to use that moving cursor to move it to the left-hand side. I'll then just go ahead and adjust the width of everything. So I'll make my filters section a little bit smaller. And I'll make my, rightmost section a little bit less wide. So I'm just going to reduce its width so the map has enough space available. Now, I want you to take a look at the dashboard and how it's going to work per se. Let's say I select a body system as aftercare. Notice that only the map is getting updated, right? As I select different body systems, notice only the map gets updated. The bar chart and the line chart don't get updated, which is a problem. And if I select Texas, notice how the bar chart and the line chart don't get updated as well. That's a problem. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and allow a user to go ahead and select a filter from here, and it should impact each of the data visualizations on this dashboard. And we also want the user to be able to select a specific state or a specific point in time or a specific hospital and see the data for the same be reflected in the data visualizations, right? We only want to drill down to that information. So let's learn how to apply these two filters. Step number 1, I want to go ahead and teach you that if I select a specific state or a specific bar for hospitals or a specific point in time, they should all drill through to that data. So to do this, keep your map selected. And when you select your map, you'll see in the top right-hand corner, you'll see this funnel icon. You see this funnel icon out here? Click on it. Now when I select Texas, you see how the line chart and the bar chart get updated only to show me Texas hospitals and the Texas discharges by time. And if I select California, it updates again. Perfect. Click out of the map. You've gone ahead and made your map into a drill through filter. Do the same for your bar chart. Select your bar chart. This time the funnel icon's on the left-hand corner. Just click on the filter, like the funnel icon, to go ahead and make your bar chart into a drill through filter. Perfect. See how the line chart gets updated to show me that data just related to that specific hospital, and the map also gets updated for the same thing. Perfect. Do the next thing for your line chart. Keep your line chart selected. Click on the funnel icon. Now if I select a specific point in time, maybe 2011, now my map only shows me data related to 2011, and so does my bar chart only show me data related to 2011. Perfect. That's exactly what we want per se. Now the next thing I want to go ahead and do is I want to go ahead and ensure that if I select body system impacted and I select a specific body system impact, it should impact all 3 of my charts out here. So to do this, keep your filter selected, called body system impacted. Click on the arrow out here and you'll get a set of options from here. What we want to go ahead and do is we want to say apply this filter to the selected worksheets. So select selected worksheets. And then I'm going to go ahead and basically select all the worksheets that are present on this dashboard. I'm then going to go ahead and click on OK. And now when I go ahead and select, let's say, circulatory system, you see how the chart updates. If I go ahead and select HIV, see how the charts update again. Exactly what I wanted. Now I'm going to do the same for DRG with code as well as for show Alaska and Hawaii filters. So I'm going to select my DRG with code filter. I'll click on the arrow out here. And I'm just going to go ahead and select apply to worksheets, selected worksheets. I'll click on this checkbox for all worksheets on this dashboard. Click on OK. Test this out. I'll select a specific DRG, maybe heart transplant. Perfect. This updates immediately to show me that data. Now I'll do the same for show Alaska and Hawaii. I'll click on this arrow out here. I'll say apply to worksheets, selected worksheets. And I'll then go ahead and just again click on the checkbox and then click on OK. And now this filter is going to apply to all of it. Perfect. Now the last step last 2 steps I want to take is I want to drag my total discharges legend and I want to place it below my map because it's more appropriate so that people know that, oh, this is for the map and they're not kind of confused per se. And I want to add in a title to my left panel, which has my filters. So to add in a title, I'm going to come to my object section. I'm going to drag text and I'm just going to go ahead and place my text between body system impact and DRG with code initially. And it's going to give me a pop-up to type in a title. So I'm going to call this Discharges Dashboard. That's my title. Perfect. And then I'm just going to select this and I'm going to go ahead and make my font size 28. I'll then go ahead and click on OK. This is perfect. And I'll place this. I'll actually select body system impact and I'll place it below. And I may just increase the width just a bit. Perfect. Now, what I want to go ahead and do is I also want to make my tooltips look a little bit better. Right now, when I hover for over, let's say, Texas, or I hover over any of these dates of the hospitals, they don't really look great, right? I want the Texas, the symbol to be slightly larger. I want the number to be slightly larger, as well as for even when I'm hovering over the years, etc. I just want the tooltip to be formatted better. So let's learn how to go ahead and format a tooltip slightly better instead of Tableau. So step number 1, I'm going to come to my Discharges by state sheet. I'm going to click on it. Once I go ahead and do that, I'm going to go ahead and specifically click on my tooltip tile out here. Once I click on my tooltip tile, I'll just go ahead and make my hospital state text slightly larger. So I'll just make it maybe, let's say 14 in font size. And I'll put some total discharges below the total discharges text. And I'll increase its font size to maybe 12. Perfect. Now, an addition thing I may want to do, you don't need to do this, I'm just creating this as an option, is that if you hover over any of these states, you may want to see how the total discharges has changed over time for that specific state. So to do this, click on the tooltip type, go ahead and select Insert, And then you want to select sheets and select discharges by time. And now you'll have a nice tooltip that shows you how the total discharges have changed over time for that specific state. And whatever else, other filters have been applied. Now you may want to go ahead and increase the max width from 300 to maybe, let's say 360, just so it's a little bit wider. You give it a little more space. And you can even increase the height if you like to. I think 300 is fine though in this case. Cool. I've now gone ahead and made my tooltip for each of these, right? Look at how much cleaner it is. I can now see the state name easily. I can see the total discharges, the number is slightly larger. I'm going to do something similar for discharges by time and discharges by hospital. So select the discharges by time sheet in the bottom bar. Click on the tooltip tile out here. And once you do this, just make your year large, get rid of name of year. We don't need to see that like name of year per se. And make this font size 14. And put sum of total discharges below total discharges. And make its font size 12. You get a nice preview out here. Perfect. Click on OK. And now we're going to do the same thing for discharges by hospital. So click on the discharges by hospital sheet. Click on the tooltip tile on the marks card. And we just want to make our hospital name and zip code big. And then again, just go ahead and make that. Give it a font size of 14. So just select the text and change it to 14 using this drop-down menu. And then do the same for sum of total discharges. Make its font size 12. Perfect. So we've gone ahead and we've made some really nice, rich tooltips out here. Okay. Now you'll notice as I'm hovering over these different states, the line chart, we have 2 line charts. So it's updating both of them at the same time. I just wanted to show you how to insert another data visualization into a tooltip. You don't necessarily have to do this. In this case, I think it's actually kind of distracting. But I'm going to leave it there just because I want to teach you how to use this feature in Tableau. But I don't think it's super useful in what we are doing per se. Now, the last question of Lily was, which hospitals have provided medical services for a selected DRG and what have been the average total payments? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and build this. This is basically a hospital finder dashboard. So a hospital finder dashboard is going to consist of 2 data visualizations. It's going to consist of a map as well as a table. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to get started by building this hospital finder map. So we're basically going to allow a user to select a specific DRG. And then we'll see all the hospitals that have served that DRG. And we want to see the average total payments also represented on that map. Let's get started with this. So come to the bottom bar, create a new sheet. Once you do this, we're going to go ahead and rename this to average total payments. Or we can just call this hospital finder map. Let's go ahead and rename this to say hospital finder map. Perfect. Now the next thing I want to go ahead and do is I want to go ahead and plot all the hospitals in the United States onto a map. How would I do this? So we don't have the latitude and longitude actually of each hospital on us. You may see this latitude and longitude generated. That's not actually going to be super useful for what we need. So we want to know the exact position of a hospital, but unfortunately we don't have that on us. But the next best thing that we have is a hospital zip code. Most likely in most cases, you're going to only have 1 hospital in each zip code. Some cases you may have 2 or 3. But in most cases, there'll only be 1 hospital for 1 zip code. So I'm going to use that field to represent each hospital on the map. So to get started, I'm going to double click on hospital zip code in the data panel. And now I can see each hospital on the United States of America map. The next thing I want to go ahead and do is I want to go ahead and search for average total payments. Okay. So basically what Lily wants to see is the average total payments for each of these hospitals. So she wants to see this encoded into the map. So I'm going to go ahead and come to my left data panel. I'm just going to go ahead and search for average total payments. I'm going to drag it and drop it on top of color. Now I've gone ahead and done this, and it's basically gone ahead and changed it from a bubble map. We had all of those dots to a choropleth map, which is what we don't want. So I'm going to take one very simple step of just coming to my marks card, and I'm going to change my marks from map to circle. We got these bubbles because of that. But there's one other key change I want to make, which is, you see my sum of average total payments right now? It's basically taking the sum of the average total payments. No, we only get the average of the average total payments. So to do this, I'm going to come back to my marks card, and I'm just going to hover over this arrow of sum of average total payments. I'm going to click on this arrow out here. I'm going to change the measure from sum to average because we want this to be an average. We don't want it to be a sum per se. You'll get wrong numbers then. Once I've gone ahead and done this, The next step I want to go ahead and take is I want to go ahead and change the color scheme from this blue color scheme to the red gold color scheme that we've been using in this, overall like series of data visualizations today. So I'm going to click on color. I'm going to click on edit colors, and I'm then going to change my color palette from this blue or automatic per se to red gold. And I'll just apply stepped colors. I'll click on apply. And now the cheaper the hospital, the yellow, the darker the hospital, like the more expensive, the darker the red per se, right? So you have dark red for expensive, light yellow for cheap. Now, what I also want to go ahead and do is I want to add in a filter where if a user selects a specific DRG, they only see the hospital serving that DRG. So to do this, I'm going to come to my data panel and I'm just going to search for DRG with code. And I'm going to go ahead and click on the arrow for DRG with code. And I'm going to go ahead and say show filter. So now, if I select one specific DRG, okay, I'm just going to deselect all, I'm just going to select one DRG. We only see the hospital serving that DRG, which is what we really wanted. Now, I'm going to go ahead and change this from a list to a single drop-down. So come to the DRG with code card, click on the arrow, and just go ahead and make this single value drop-down. Perfect. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and rename my average total payments. So you see that AVG into brackets average total payments. That's super long, could be confusing to someone like Lily. Let's rename that. Click on the arrow for that card. Click on edit title. We're just going to go ahead and rename this to say AVG period or full stop total payments. Perfect. Now we also want to give Lily the ability to just go ahead and set a range for average total payments. Maybe she wants to go ahead and apply a range to find these hospitals. So what I'll go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and come to my marks card. In my marks card, you'll see we have this average of average total payments. That's basically the color, right? So the higher the value, the darker the color. I want to also make this into a filter. So I'll just basically hover over this field. I'll click on the arrow and I'll say show filter. Now, Lily can go ahead and select the range which she wants. So she can go ahead and just change this range. And accordingly, the hospitals get updated on the map. So you see only the hospitals which fit in that range per se. Now, I also want to go ahead and just edit the title of this filter. So to do this, come to the top right-hand corner of this, filter per se. Click on the arrow and just edit its title to just say AVG total payments versus like that average of average total payments. It's just super confusing to someone else. Perfect. And I'll just place a slicer below my DRG with code. Now, once I've gone ahead and made my hospital finder map, it's going to come together really well. What I may want to go ahead and do is I may want to go ahead and change the style, right? Right now I'm using a style which is this light style, but there's one key problem with it, which is that I cannot see the streets per se. So when I start looking for this hospital, I may not be able to identify which street it is on, etc., and get that nice map view which we get to see in an app like maybe Google Maps. So if you want the Google Maps kind of view, which I really wanted to show you how to apply if you ever need it, you need to go in and just right click and select background layers. And then you need to come to the left panel and you need to select your style from light. You need to make it streets. So to repeat myself, you need to change from light to streets. Perfect. And now if I zoom into a specific location, I can actually see the streets as well, which is really what we want per se. Now, I've gone ahead and I've plotted all the hospitals onto this map. The next step that I want to go ahead and take is I also want to go ahead and add the filter to show Alaska or Hawaii, just in case the user wants to see only Alaska, Hawaii hospitals, or all of the hospitals in America, or only hospitals which are in the main part of the United States of America per se. So let's go ahead and do that. Come to your left panel, click on the X button next to background layers. So you get rid of that. And then just go ahead and search for is Alaska or Hawaii. And then click on the arrow for the is Alaska or Hawaii field. And just go ahead and say show filter. It'll show us the filter on the right hand side. And then you just want to go ahead and click on the arrow for is Alaska or Hawaii. Change its view from multiple values list to single value drop down. Okay, this is exactly what we wanted. Perfect. So now we've gone ahead and built a hospital finder map. But there's one key problem. If I hover over a specific dot out here, I only get to see its hospital zip code and the average total payments. I don't know the hospital name. I don't know its address. I don't know its state. I don't know the zip code. I don't know the city. I don't know none of that information. That's super important for someone like Lily when she's trying to learn more about that hospital. A hospital zip code is not going to be enough for her to learn more about it. So let's go ahead and add that information to a tooltip. So if you go ahead and just double click on the tooltip tile out here right now, you will see that you can't add that in directly. So what we need to do is we need to click on the cancel option for the pop-up for the tooltip. And then what we need to do is we need to actually drag and drop a lot of fields into this tooltip tile. I'm going to go ahead and show you how I'll do that. First, I'm going to search for my hospital name. I'm going to drag hospital name and I'll drop it on top of my tooltip tile. Once I do that, you'll see that the hospital name has now come and become a part of my tooltip. I'll then search for my hospital address. I'll add that into my tooltip. I'll go ahead and add in my hospital city. I'll add in my hospital, we added address, added city, and we also need, I think, the state. So I'll drag in my hospital state as well. Perfect. Now you see how I get the city, name, state, address, zip code. That's a lot of what we needed. Let's say, Lily also wants to see the total discharges, just in case, okay? So I'll add in total discharges, I'll drag total discharges, I'll put it on top of the tooltip. And for good measure, I'll also go ahead and drag my average Medicare payments and I'll place it into my tooltip. And I'll drag my average covered charges into my tooltip as well. So now we get to see all of these values in the tooltip. That's fantastic, but there are two key problems. Average covered charges and average Medicare payments have actually been summed up. We need to take an average of those, okay? They've been added up. We would need to take an average of those per se. So to do this, I'm going to come to my marks card and I'm basically going to go ahead and change my sum of average Medicare payments to basically say average of Medicare payments and then average of my covered charges. Perfect. Now we've gone ahead and we've modified our tooltip. You'll notice we got an average now, not a sum, which was inappropriate and causing data integrity issues. But this tooltip is really busy and really difficult for someone like Lee to scan. Let's improve the readability of the tooltip now. So let's first click on the tooltip tile. And once we do that, we're just going to format this slightly better. I'm going to put my hospital name all the way at the top. Okay. I'm going to get rid of this extra hospital name text. We don't need that. Everybody knows that this is a hospital name. Perfect. Once I do that, I'm going to put the address just in the format you see when you're writing a letter to someone. So I'm going to drag the hospital address. I'll put that first. I'll put a comma. And after that, I'm going to go ahead and put in my hospital city. I'll put a comma. I'll then take my hospital state. I'll cut that. I'll paste it out here at the top. And I'll just put a dash. And after that, I'll put in my hospital zip code. See how much easier this reads now? You may see a star and you'll see another star out here. Don't panic. That's basically there are multiple hospitals in a particular, zip code. That's why you'll see the star. You're most likely not going to see it as we progress through, our report. I'll show you what we'll do to handle the case with the multiple hospitals and the zip code also as well. So don't panic if you see that star. Now what I'll do is I'll go ahead and make my hospital name size from 10 to 14. So the font size is slightly larger. Once I do that, I'll just get rid of all of this extra text of hospital zip code, address, and hospital city. All that additional labels, I'll just get rid of it. After that, I'm just going to change average covered charges to just say AVG covered charges. I'll change AVG Medicare payments to just AVG average Medicare payments to just say AVG dot Medicare payments. I'll change AVG average total payments to just say AVG total payments. Once I do that, I'll just go ahead and put my numbers on a new line. So for each of the numbers, I'll just put them up to a new line so that it's easier to scan. And I'll just put a line break after each one. So, it's super easy to scan the data and understand it. Now, one last thing I want to do is I want to put my total payments as my first measure. That's just because the color is representing total payments. So that's what the user may expect to see first. And they may then expect to see additional information after that. So my tooltip card is going to look something like this. So it would take maybe 30 seconds to a minute to format it to look slightly better. And if you want to, you can also go ahead and make each number a font size of 12 instead of 10. So I'll just do that. Perfect. Now as I hover over each dot out here, we get to see the hospital name, the address of the hospital, and we get to see some critical statistics about it as well for that specific DRG, which is a heart transplant DRG. So this is super useful to someone like Lily. And in the case that there are multiple hospitals in particular zip code, you may see an asterisk, but when we build out a dashboard, I'll show you how we'll handle that situation. Awesome. So we've now built a hospital finder map. Now the next step we want to go ahead and take is we want to build our hospital finder table. So let's go ahead and build out that table. It's going to be super fast. It's going to take us a maximum of 4 minutes to make per se, I think. So go up to the bottom bar, create a new sheet. Click on the plus button, create a new sheet, and just call this hospital finder table. Perfect. Now what I want to do is I want to come to my left panel and I want to get started with building my table. What's going to be part of my table? We're going to have the hospital name and zip code. After that, we have total discharges, the average covered charges, the average Medicare payments, and the average total payments. Let's get started with adding that data in. So step number 1, search for hospital name with zip code, drag and drop that into your rows. Perfect. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to search for my total discharges and I want to make that my first column. To do this, I will drag total discharges and I'll place it on top of my ABC column which you have out here. As soon as you do that, you can see the total discharges for each hospital. Perfect. Once you do that, go ahead and search for your average covered charges. Drag and drop that on top of your table. You see that second column which has the numbers, just drag and drop it there. It's not going to replace it, it's going to add another column instead. Perfect. But what's happened out here, it's taken a sum of your average covered charges. You see this? You come to measure values. See how it's taken a sum of your average covered charges? We're going to change that to read as average of average covered charges. We don't want to read a sum. So go ahead and click on the arrow and change your measure from sum to average so that we can actually see the average covered charges for that specific hospital and that DRG per se. Next, we're going to go ahead and search for the average Medicare payments. Drag that, drop that in as another column as I'm doing. Again, change this from a sum. So go ahead and click on the arrow and measure values. So sum of average Medicare payments. Click on the arrow, change it from measure of sum to average. Perfect. And now we're going to do the same for total payments. Drag average total payments and just drop it into your table. Again, it's going to make it a sum. Just change the measure. So click on the arrow and change the measure from sum to average. There we go. You've gone ahead and built out your table almost. Now the next step we want to take is we want to make our table occupy all of the space available, basically the entire width. So I'm going to come to the top bar and I'm going to change my fit from standard fit to fit width. So we use all of the space available. Once I do that, I'll see my column names are kind of messed up. We have AVG dot average Medicare payments and so on. So I'll quickly edit those. How will I edit those? I'm just going to right click on the column header and I'm going to click on edit alias. Once you do that, I'll just change AVG to average Medicare payments to say AVG Medicare payments. I'll click on OK. I'll do the same for the AVG average covered charges. I'll click on edit alias and I'll just change it to say AVG covered charges. I'll click on OK. And I'll do the same for my AVG total payments as well. I'll click on edit alias and I'll change this to just say AVG total payments instead of saying AVG average total payments. Awesome. Now I may want to reorder my columns as well. I may want to put total discharges first. So to do this, I'll come to my measure values card in my second panel. And inside of it, I'll just drag my total discharges field and I'll place it first. Perfect. The next thing I may want to go ahead and do to my table is I may want to go ahead and basically put a dollar sign for my average Medicare payments, average covered charges, and average total payments. Why? Because this is money, right? So we want to have a dollar sign for it. How would I add in a dollar sign? It's actually a pretty simple step, which I'm going to show to you today. We got to go ahead and set the number format for our average covered charges field, our average Medicare payments field, and our average total payments field. So to do this, I want to come to my data panel. I've already searched for the word average, so we can already see the three measures to it we need to add a dollar sign to and the number format to per se. So I'm going to get started by clicking on the arrow for average covered charges. And then I'm going to go ahead and just come in my menu and I'm going to select default properties. Once I select default properties, I'm going to select number format. I'm basically going to say that average covered charges is a number and its format should be currency custom and it should not have any decimal places, just 0 decimal places. And the prefix is a dollar. If this was rupees or pounds or yens, I would use the symbol for the same. So if I would use a pound sign for pounds, I'd use the rupee symbol for rupee, the yen symbol for yen, and so on. In this case, this is the United States, it's a dollar. So my prefix is a dollar. So now before this number, I have a prefix of a dollar. I'll click on OK. And you'll see for average covered charges, and now we get this dollar sign. Perfect. And what you'll also see is if you go to your hospital finder map, you see how the dollar signs come out there as well. Perfect. That's super useful, right? It makes it look a little bit better. The formatting is better. I'll do the same for my average Medicare payments as well. I'll click on the arrow in the data panel for average Medicare payments. I'll come to default properties. I'll select my number format. I'll select it as currency custom. No decimal places. Dollar sign is my prefix. Click on OK. Perfect. This is coming from my average Medicare payments. Last but not the least, I want to do it for my average total payments. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the arrow for average total payments. And I'm going to go ahead and say default properties, number format, currency custom, no decimal places. I'll click on OK. Awesome. So we've got ahead and got the dollar sign. Now let's say you want to go ahead and color code your table. How do you want to color code it? You want to basically show the hospital with the lowest average total payments with a yellow color and the hospital with the highest average total payments with the darkest red color possible. So to do this, we're going to go ahead and drag our average total payments. I'm going to drop it on top of our color tile in the marks card. That's step number 1. Once you've done that, you'll initially see you've got a sum of average total payments taken in, which is what we don't want to do. So we just want to make that an average of average total payments. So click on the arrow for that sum of average total payments per se and change your measure from sum to average. So you've gone ahead and done that, but that's not solved one critical problem, that we cannot actually read our text. That's because when you have text in different colors like this, these very light colors, they're super not legible. So what we instead want to do is we want to go ahead and make the background of this cell, be a light color or a dark color and let the text be white or black accordingly so the text is more legible. So to do this, I'm going to come to my marks card and I'm going to go ahead and click on the automatic drop down. I'm going to go ahead and say use square. So basically the color is getting applied to the square. Now sometimes what you'll see is your label may disappear. You may not see any numbers. Don't panic if you don't see any numbers. Just click on the label tile in that case and always ensure your show mark labels are switched on. So sometimes it may disappear, so don't panic. Just ensure your show mark labels are switched on. Awesome. Now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and make my color be the same red gold theme that we had used earlier. So I'm going to click on color. I'm going to select edit colors. I'm going to change my palette from automatic to red gold, not orange gold. I'll select red gold. Perfect. And I'll select apply. I'm going to also apply 5 color steps. Awesome. Now I can go ahead and see the hospitals that are super cheap. And as I start scrolling through, I can see the hospitals a little bit more expensive. But you see that this data is all sorted right now because there's some hospitals which are like, let's say in between. They're not super cheap, but not super expensive. But then right after that, I can start to see super cheap hospitals, right? So what I want to do is I want to sort my table by average total payments. So to sort my table by this column, I'm going to come to my average total payments column. Just hover over that header and just go ahead and say sort my data by this. So now your data is sorted in descending order, which is what we don't want. We want to see the cheapest hospital first. So we're going to again click on this and now the data should be sorted in ascending order, which is the cheapest hospital first and then the most expensive right at the end. Perfect. We've built our hospital finder table. Now the last step is we got to put all of this together to build our hospital finder dashboard. Let's get started with this. So come to the bottom bar, click on the plus new dashboard button. I'm going to rename this dashboard to hospital finder dashboard. Perfect. Once I've done that, I'm going to come to my left panel. I'm going to change my size of my dashboard from range, minimum 420 to 560 to automatic. So you have all the space available. Next step, I'm going to drag my hospital finder map onto my dashboard. Perfect. I'm also then going to drag my hospital finder table and I'm going to drag that onto the left-hand side. So we've got a kind of base layout set up per se. Now, what we need to go ahead and do is we need to go ahead and organize the filters, ensure the filters are applying where they need to be applied and so on, similar to what we did earlier. So you're going to get into that because right now, if it's like my DRG with code, let's say, maybe liver transplant, only the maps going to get updated. The tables are going to get updated, which is what we want. The table should also be updated. So we're going to ensure that happens. And we also want to ensure that if I select a specific hospital in the table, the map gets updated. And if I select a specific dot on the map, the table gets updated, which is not happening as well. So we're going to go ahead and apply all of those filters. And we're also going to improve the layout of this dashboard a little bit because now we've got our base ready. So to get started, I'm going to go ahead and drag my filters on the right-hand side. I'm going to drag them onto the left. Perfect. That's step number 1. So that the user, when they come in, they can first select a DRG. That's why I always place the filters on the left-hand side so the user can go ahead and select a filter and then see the data that they're looking for. That's why on Amazon.com as well, you always see your filters on the left-hand side. Perfect. Now, once I've gone ahead and done this, I'm going to select my hospital finder map. Once I select my hospital finder map, I'm going to switch on the funnel icon. So I'm going to click on that funnel icon in the top left corner of it. So that now when I select, let's say University of Washington, my table gets updated. So I can immediately read the statistics for it out here. And now if I hover over a dot, which has maybe multiple hospitals in it, so zip code which has multiple hospitals in it, and I click on it, my table will show me all the 2 or 3 or 4 hospitals in that zip code in that rare case per se. So even when I hover over it, maybe in the tooltip, I'll see an asterisk. But if I click on that dot, the table will show me the 3 or 4 hospitals per se. So let me try and see if we can get that asterisk per se. Let's see if we got it out here. So if I click on this asterisk dot, see there are 2 hospitals out here. So I get to see the statistics. I get to see the statistics for both of them per se. Perfect. Now the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and select my DRG with code. Okay, I'm going to select that DRG with code filter. Once I go ahead and select it, I'm going to basically click on this arrow out here, and I'm going to basically say apply this filter to worksheets, and I'm going to select selected worksheets. I'm basically going to say that this filter should go ahead and impact not just the map, but the table as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and select the checkbox for it, and I'll click on OK. So that now when I select a DRG, maybe whatever DRG, maybe lung transplant, the table as well as the map get updated. This is what I was looking for. Perfect. Now I'm going to do the same for average total payments. I'm going to select that filter. I'll then go ahead and click on the arrow for it. And I'll say apply to worksheets, and I'll say selected worksheets. And I'm going to go ahead and select my hospital finder table, and I'll select OK. And I'll do the same for the US, Alaska, Hawaii. I'll click on this arrow, and I'll say apply to worksheets. I'll say selected worksheets. And I'm going to go ahead and select my hospital finder table. Perfect. Now, if I go ahead and select this Alaska, Hawaii, in this case, there's no DRG which serves both Alaska and Hawaii, so you won't see any hospital showing up. But maybe there are some DRGs which Alaska and Hawaii get included in per se. In this case, it's not happening. But if I start updating my average total payments, notice how the table is immediately updating, and so is the map. Perfect. That's what we're looking for. Awesome. Now, the last step I'll take is I'll select my table. I'm going to go ahead and switch on the funnel icon. So just click on the funnel icon and switch it on if it's not already on. So that if I select a specific hospital in my table, my map also gets updated to show me that specific hospital. And to basically get out of that view, just again click on that row and we'll get out of it, right? So I click on the row in that table. I get to see the exact location of the hospital. I click on it again. I zoom out. Awesome. Now, drag your average total payments legend, drop it below your map so that the user knows that this is for the map per se. So what you're looking for. And this is done. Now, we want to go ahead and add a title out here that says Hospital Finder Dashboard. So come to your left panel, search for text objects, drag your text objects, place it into the left, section. And then we're just going to go ahead and type in a title for this section. I'm going to type in Hospital Finder Dashboard. I'm going to make my font size 24. Perfect. I'll click on OK. And now I got my Hospital Finder Dashboard title out here. I'll just drag my DRG with code filter and I'm going to place it below the Hospital Finder Dashboard. Awesome. So now I can go ahead and select any hospital, and so can Lily. And she can get to see all the hospitals that serve the specific DRG. And she can, of course, adjust her budget as well whenever she has to. And she can then hover over any particular dot and learn more about that hospital and the total discharges and the average total payments and so on. Awesome. So we've now gone ahead and almost completed this entire report for Lily. We need to go ahead and add a few finishing touches to this report and we'll be done. So step number 1 is I want to go ahead and drag my discharges dashboard and make that the first sheet or my second sheet per se inside of today's report. So I'm going to drag discharges dashboard. It's going to become the second sheet. I'm going to make a hospital finder dashboard as my first sheet for today's report. So hospital finder should be the first sheet per se, which someone sees when they come into the Tableau, report. After that, I noticed that I have a lot of additional sheets, right? I have the discharges by DRG, discharges by body system, discharges by state, discharges by time, discharges by hospital, and so on. I may want to go ahead and just hide some of the visualizations I use in my dashboard. I don't need to always see them. So how can I go ahead and hide them to reduce the clutter and the total amount of pages being shown? Pretty simple. Just right click on discharges dashboard. And what you can go ahead and do is you can say hide all sheets. What it's going to do is basically going to hide all the sheets that appear on the discharges dashboard. So I'm going to select hide all sheets for it. Notice how the total sheets being shown reduced. I'm then going to do the same with the hospital finder dashboard. I'll right click on it. I'll select hide all sheets. So again, we get lesser sheets. Now you may have a question for me. So what if I want to go edit the map later on? How will I get to it? Pretty simple. You can select this map from here whenever you need to on the dashboard and you want to edit it. And you can just click on the arrow and you can say go to sheet and it'll appear temporarily as a sheet inside of your workbook. So you can always go back to it if needed. So we've gone ahead and we've made our Discharges dashboard and our Hospital Finder dashboard. The last two steps I need to take today is I need to come to my Discharges by DRG sheet and my Discharges by Body System Impacted sheet. What's basically happened out here is all the filters we applied onto our dashboard have also been applied onto these two sheets. That's why you only see one bar in one box out here, because we selected the circulatory system, I think DRG inside of the the Hospital Finder dashboard, so it's applied it out here. We don't want that to happen. So simply just go ahead and remove these filters for both your Discharges by Body System Impacted as well as your Discharges by DRG. So see, I'm just going to go ahead and remove these from the filters card. Perfect. Awesome. So we've gone ahead and we've completed our report for Lily. Now we need to deliver it to her. So what we need to do is you need to come to your top left-hand corner and select File. Okay, so you'll see File all the way in the top menu bar. And what you're going to go ahead and say is you're going to say Save to Tableau Public As. Once you've done that, you'll be asked to go ahead and save your workbook to Tableau Public. You need to give your workbook a title. I'm going to go ahead and call this US DRG report for Lily into brackets Medicare. Cool. And I'll click on Save. Now, I got this prompt to immediately go ahead and give a workbook name. You may be asked to instead sign into Tableau. Okay, if you need to sign into Tableau first, what you need to do is you need to use your Tableau public account credentials. So as part of the setup instructions, I gone ahead and listed how to create a Tableau public account. So go ahead and create a Tableau public account if you haven't already, sign in and then save your work. And once you complete saving your work, what you'll notice is that your computer will open up a new tab in your browser and you'll be able to see the report that you've created for Lily. And you'll be super happy and you can go ahead and send this link to her as well. But there's one key problem. This report right now only shows the Hospital Finder dashboard. We built a Discharges dashboard, we have a bar chart, and we also have a tree map that we may want to show to Lily. How can she see that? For her to see it, what you need to do is you need to go ahead and click on the settings icon and select Show Sheets. So see the settings icon on the top right-hand corner? Click on it. Okay, and basically select Show Sheets. And you don't want other people to download your work, right? You put so much effort into it today. So just switch off Allow Access so that other people cannot download or copy your work per se. Perfect. Now we've gone ahead and we've built our Hospital Finder dashboard, our Discharges dashboard, and Discharges by DRG, and Discharges by Body System Impacted data visualizations. So today you've learned a lot within Tableau with respect to building dashboards, bar charts, tree maps, as well as a variety of different maps like bubble maps, as well as choropleth maps. Now, if you want to go ahead and continue learning Tableau, I have a few key next steps. So do listen in because I think they'll be super useful for you. So first of all, go ahead and share this report on your LinkedIn. Okay, it'll be super useful to go ahead and share this with other people so they know in your network that you're actually learning data visualization and you know how to make such data-rich reports. In addition to this, add this to your portfolio and resume, send it to your friends, send it to your parents. You can use this public link, add it onto your portfolio. So it's a super simple link to add in. And you can also go ahead and ask your own questions and build more charts into this report. And share it with other data sets on Tableau as well. Tableau actually lists a lot of public data sets, so I'll put a link to that in the description. And if you also want to play with some other data sets from other websites, I'll put links to those as well. In addition to that, if you're super interested in learning more about Tableau, I have created 2 other tutorials, Analyzing Accidents in Seattle with Tableau and Football Analytics with Tableau as well. Analyzing Accidents in Seattle with Tableau is a super great, workshop if you want to learn more about building maps. It's a great case study in how you can go ahead and filter down. Let's say if you have 100 or 200 locations, or maybe let's say, I think that case, 3,000 locations, how you can filter it down to find the exact locations that a city may need to pay attention to in terms of reducing accidents in those spots. And the Football Analytics course is a great course if you're interested in learning how, sports clubs go ahead and use data to basically scout new talent. Even if you're interested in, let's say, baseball or basketball, it's going to be a super great course for you to take or a super great tutorial for you to take. Because the same scouting methods with respect to data scouting is applied in basketball as well as baseball per se. So do go ahead and check out these videos. They're super great and they were part of the previous certification program. Okay, so you can definitely check them out. Super great, tutorials. I know I'm complimenting myself, but I can definitely say there's a lot to learn from them. Now, in addition to that, if you have more questions or you enjoyed today's video, definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And follow DubsTech on Instagram. We always post about our upcoming data visualization certification programs on our Instagram page. They're all for free. They're all covering different types of data visualization tools such as Tableau, Power BI, We cover other types of tools related to UX design as well, such as Figma and so on. And we also post about upcoming datathons as well as hackathons and UX talks and, talks with the job search. So do follow us and also join our DubsTech Discord if you want to be part of our tech community, which is super active in discussions about UX design, data science, and software engineering. And also join the Design Buddies Discord. They're the largest design organization in the world in terms of the community. They have 18,000 plus members, and you can get a lot of feedback on your work which you've been doing. So if you want feedback on your projects, or you want to just have design discussions with people, or you want support, this is a great place to go. And it's led by an amazing person, that's Grace Ling. She's been leading this community all the way from 2020 till now. It's a super active community, so I definitely encourage you to go ahead and join the Discord server. Awesome. And last but not the least, you can also check out our Power BI Retail Analytics Workshop as well as our Power BI Health Analytics Workshop. Thank you so much for watching. If you have a question, comment down below in the comments of the YouTube video or connect with me on LinkedIn. Take care. Cheers.